This goalie was one of the best of his era, and I think for many, all he wanted to be remembered for, besides his great skating and puck saving ability, was his talent as a writer. No, we're not talking about Ken Dryden. We're talking about someone, I guess, just as good of a scriptwriter and a novelist, the great Al Smith. Now, Al Smith may not be a household word to many Canadians, but for us growing up in the 1970s and 80s, he was a goalie that no one could not do without. Now, he played nearly 500 games in the NHL in the WHA. Now, he came to major prominence with the Toronto Marlies of the OHA in 1961. Now, he also had time with the Lakeshore Bruins of the OHA before returning to Marlboroughs in the 65 season. Now, his totals with Lakeshore and Toronto were quite strong. He had put in a lot of training with their coaches as to his very unique style. By the 1966 season, he also got called up to the Toronto Maple Leafs because the Marlies were an affiliate of the Buds, and he had 2 games in 66 with 1 win with a stellar 1.92 average. Now in 67, he split time between 4 teams. He played 1 game in Toronto, played 56 with the Victoria Maple Leafs with a 24-26-5 record. He also played in the Vancouver Canucks WHL playoffs, and then played for the California Seals in the WHL playoffs as well. Now 68, he had another cup of water with Toronto with a 1-2-1 record in 7 games, 2.90 average. After playing the full 68 season with the affiliate in Tulsa with a 23-12-5 record. Now, again, mostly in the minors. In 69, he was with Tulsa and Rochester, but eventually made his way to the NHL. His rookie season in 70 with the Penguins was pretty good, 15-20-8 with 3.03 average. 71 again with Pittsburgh, then Detroit in 72. Now, when the New England Whalers were looking for a strong goalie, he came into the fore, had a very, very strong Avco Cup championship run in 73 with a 31-19-1 record, including 12-3 in the playoffs. Now, he played 2 more seasons with the Whalers before shifting back to the NHL with the Sabres for 2 seasons for 21 games. Then back to New England in 78 with a 30-20-3 record. And not too often that he would go to WHA, come back to the NHL, go back to WHA. He came back with the Whalers in 80 where he moved the NHL. He had 11-10-8 record in 1980. In 81, he wrapped up his NHL career with a 9-18-4 record and 36 starts for Colorado. Now, when he to start his career, he had a very interesting road to the NHL. Let's go over very quickly. Now, during the 66 season, he had quit the Marlies to work for a hospital supply firm. Smith then made his NHL debut for the Maple Leafs against Chicago Blackhawks when he relieved Gary Smith after 2 minutes and 15 seconds of play. Now, he won that game 3-2, and he stalled Bobby Hull at 47 goals. Now, Smith was also one of 5 goalies who played for the Maple Leafs during the 67 season. He played 1 more game to the Leafs on December 31st, 66, losing to the Blackhawks 5-1. Now, he was later called up as a backup to Terry Sawchuk for games 4 and 5 of the 67 Stanley Cup Finals, which Toronto won, due to injury of Johnny Bower. Now, Smith did qualify to have his name engraved on the Stanley Cup, but Toronto left his name off because he did not play in the playoffs. But for me, Al is a Stanley Cup champion. Even he's playing backup, he could have been called any time. And if Richard 70 could make it, why not Al Smith? Now, Smith's other brief moment of glory for the Maple Leafs was taking part in the 1968 NHL All-Star Game when, at the time, the Stars of the NHL would play the Stanley Cup champion. Now, he played in relief for Bruce Campbell and stopped 13 of 14 shots. And then he was eventually claimed by Pittsburgh in the interleague draft. Now, one of the most infamous moments of his career came on February 13, 1970, when he quit the Sabres. Smith was to replace injured goalie Jerry Desjardins for a game against the Stars, and Buffalo would also call up Don Edwards. Now, less than an hour before game time, Buffalo GM Punch Imlach ordered Sabres coach Floyd Smith to play Edwards instead. After the national anthem, Smith stopped off the bench, saluted Buffalo owner Seymour Northrop Knox, and headed for the dressing room. Now, Smith later played at WHA with the Whalers, where he was the league's top goalie in '78. He was a third-team WHA All-Star for 2 consecutive years, and many people in hockey felt Smith was robbed when snubbed by Team Canada for the '74 Summit Series between the WHA All-Stars and the Russians. Now, I tend to agree because Gilles Gratton was not as good as Al Smith. Joe Daly and Jerry Cheevers were quite strong. He could have easily been a number 3 goalie. And Al could play in any situation. And he had a very strong style. Because, at 6'1", 200 pounds, that was a bigger goalie than we had saw at the time, besides like Toronto and some other teams. But, a very, very good quality goalie. Now, the reason why he ended up with the WHA is because he was selected by the New England Whalers in the '72 WHA General Player Draft. Now, the Red Wings, the Red Wings and Buffalo lost him because Al Smith signed with as a free agent with New England in late August '77. Now, his rights again were retained by the Whalers prior to the draft. Now, he had a very unique post-hockey career. We're going to talk a little bit about his writing, because it might take 2 podcasts, but I thought I'd put it together in one. Now, in '81, when he retired from the Rockies, he eventually became a car salesman in Vancouver, and later headed to BC Interior to pick fruit, of all things. Before returning to Toronto, Smith also was a salesman for the media company Reuters. Now, Smith also kept in touch with former WHA teammate Larry Plow, because when Plow coached the Whalers, he would leave Smith tickets at Maple Leaf Gardens. Now, once he returned to Toronto, Smith fully engaged in his love of writing, and from what I heard, he's a pretty good scripter. Suspects would include sports, such as in his 1997 novel The Parade Has Passed, featuring a WHA forward who hitchhikes to the funeral of his former coach, who had died in a brawl. Smith later wrote the play Confessions to Anne Sexton, and the beginnings of a novel entitled The Tragedy of Lake Tuscarora. To make ends meet, Smith also became a taxi driver for Beck Taxi, and it was not uncommon for Smith to pick up old friends and former teammates in Toronto. Now, in '68, Smith used the $34,000 of pension benefits he received as part of the NHL's infamous pension fund settlement with former players to produce Confessions to Anne Sexton at the Alumni Theatre on Berkeley Street in downtown Toronto. The play was about a former goalie who goes to New York City to attend an impressionist art exhibit. On opening night, 17 people attended the performance, the biggest house of the show's 3-week run. But I heard it was pretty good. The reviews weren't too bad, as we say. In the last few months of his life, Smith socialized with Jim Keon, the brother of Smith's former teammate, Dave Keon. Now, before his death, Smith was still working on the tragedy of Lake Tuscarora. Smith's son Adam said the father was not a talented writer, and after reading the manuscript, told his father on his deathbed that there were 14 pages that were perfect, and Smith was happy. Now, he died in 2002 as a result of pancreatic cancer. Now, WHA totals 148, 98 and 15, 260 games, 18 and 15 in the playoffs. NHL 73, 99 and 36, 3.46. Now, awards and honors, again, NHL All-Star Game 68, WHA All-Star Game 73, All-Star Third Team 73, WHA All-Star Game 74, All-Star Third Team 74, WHA All-Star Game 75, Top WHA Goalie 78, First All-Star Team WHA 78, and he was an inaugural member of the WHA World Hockey Association Hall of Fame in 2010. So thanks for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be keeping with an occasional hockey podcast here. We really appreciate the feedback. We're getting actually family members of some of the people we've been covering in the stories or the storytelling aspect of the podcast. We really appreciate it. This is meant as a tribute, and it's kind of a reminder to the longtime fans of the NHL that their heroes have not been forgotten. I've been working as a sports editor and reporter for 37 years, and I'm trying to make these as sort of like a hockey card encyclopedia of the skaters. Now, I'm taking information from my own and other sources. You can probably figure out I don't know everything about every player, but the thing is, I remember the impact he had. Like the WHA goalies were very underrated, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you why. If you're playing against Bobby Hull and Gordie Howe and Andre Lacroix and Mark Tardif and Rejean Houle and all these top skaters, and you're facing them more often in the NHL, you got to be pretty good. That's why the scoring was so high in the WHA, because